Hello and welcome back here to Talk FCB and welcome back to the channel, and we're talking transfer news and times move on, because earlier on last week I was talking about Marco Verratti. Will he or won't he join Barcelona? And basically at that point in the video we were just talking about very vague interest, the fact that we'd all love Verratti to come, but at that point it was a distant dream. We didn't actually think that it was on the verge of happening, and what I did actually say in that video was the only way that I could see Verratti leaving PSG this summer would be if he requested a transfer and if he really did force his way out of the club. And what has happened since then? Marco Verratti reportedly wants to quit Paris Saint-Germain this summer, and believe me, he wants to join Barcelona, and that has been made clear in the French press and the Italian press in recent days. Verratti wants to leave PSG this summer. He has conveyed those thoughts to the PSG hierarchy. The owner is not happy about it, but right now Verratti's agent and PSG's sporting director have met in Italy today. They've discussed things, and it's absolutely clear that Verratti wants to leave PSG this summer, and he's going to do everything in his power to make it possible. What I will say at this point is, though, PSG still hold the cards. At the end of the day, the player is under contract. No matter how unhappy he is, PSG do have the right, of course, to hold on to him, to reject all offers, and to make Marco Verratti stay. And obviously, they're paying his wages, so he's going to play. But what I would say is the very, very top clubs do not usually let players who are unhappy at their club stay at their club, because they think, you know what, we've got 100 million being thrown at us. We've got an unhappy player on our hands. Is he going to perform at his best for us if we keep him here unhappy against his will? How are the fans going to react? And in the end, it's all too much, and often they end up selling. And that is why I truly believe, and that's why I said, if Verratti is going to join us this summer, it's going to be because he's forced his way out of PSG and he's made them sell him. Because believe me, they do not want to sell a player of Marco Verratti's quality. He is one of the best midfielders in the world. It's become clear in recent seasons how important he is to that Paris Saint-Germain team, their project in general. That's why the owner is so unhappy, because he's put a lot of money into PSG, he's put a lot of ambition and drive into the club, and now one of their players, one of their best players, wants to leave, and of course that is going to be a blow for any club. But what happened today, just to bring you up to speed on it, there's been a lot of reporting coming out of France. There's been a lot of talk on Twitter about Verratti, and of course Italy as well are very, very close to the transfers, particularly Gianluca Di Marzio. Now, the reason Italy is so heavily involved in this, the media side, is because of course Verratti is an Italian international, and not only that, up until very, very recently it was understood that Juventus were very, very interested in taking Verratti to Serie A, back to his home country this summer. Now it has emerged since then, Di Marzio says that Juventus are no longer interested in Verratti. Maybe the transfer fee is too high, maybe the player's wishes have been conveyed to Juventus that he does want to join Barcelona, because that is the message that is followed. In all outlets reporting on Verratti wanting to leave, they do follow up by saying the club that he wants to join this summer is Barcelona. Now, Gianluca Di Marzio, for me, has been very, very reliable. Whenever I looked at him, I've seen reliable things coming out of the media in terms of transfers. Certainly Italian deals and Serie A deals, he's very much up on all the talk, so his news can be considered very reliable. He says that today Marco Verratti's agent Donato De Campoli was in a meeting with PSG's new sporting director Henrique, and basically what happened in that meeting was De Campoli, Verratti's agent, sat down with him and said he wants to leave. That is absolutely clear, and that was the message that was conveyed throughout the meeting to Henrique, PSG sporting director. There was a number of things talked about in the meeting, from Verratti's demands. What the idea was to go into that meeting today, and PSG actually wanted to offer Verratti a contract renewal. The renewal would have been for 10 million euros net per season, and that was on the table. They wanted to get that renewal done. They wanted to convince Verratti to stay, but Henrique came away from that meeting dejected for sure, because in that meeting it was evident that Verratti was not interested in signing a new deal. He wants to leave this summer, and that message is crystal clear. Now PSG have gone one step further than that. They've come out of that meeting after that news that Verratti was really moving on his demands. They now say they want to meet Verratti in person. They don't want a deal through his agent. They want to talk face to face with the player, and they want to now see what the situation is and how far this is going to go. Now, I think in the coming days we'll see Henrique, the sporting director of PSG, sit down face to face with Verratti, and for me, I believe that if Verratti says straight up then, please let me go, I want to leave this club, I think then negotiations towards the end of this month could start We've heard a lot of fees being talked about. PSG reportedly wanted 80 million, then they wanted 100 million, then they wanted 120 million. I think the general ballpark for this transfer will be 100 million euros. I think that is the fee that you're looking at in the current market. You can't really argue with it. There's players going for astronomical fees every single day that goes by in this transfer window. There's another player that's going for an extraordinary amount of money. The transfer fees are rising in the current market. If you want the best, you've got to pay for it. And 100 million for Verratti is an astronomical amount of money. There's no getting away from that, but we've got to pay it if we want the best, and this is a player that could help us enormously in the coming season and throughout the future. He's got many years of top quality football left in him. So I think in the coming days, Verratti will sit down with PSG's hierarchy. He will either tell them that he wants to leave, or he will soften his demands and possibly sign a new deal. I think it's one or the other. He either signs a new deal with PSG and he probably stays there for the rest of his career or the rest of his top flight days, or he leaves this summer and takes the next step and steps up to the Champions League final. He goes on to win those tournaments. That's the sort of ballpark that he wants to be looking at. He wants to be among the elite clubs. PSG have been knocking on the door, but they haven't quite got there yet. Verratti clearly has high ambitions, and he wants to get those realised. Now, there's a lot more that's been going on about Verratti in various news outlets. L'Equipe were the ones who originally broke the news in France. They're a very reliable French paper reporting on all things France. They said then that Verratti was very interested in leaving, but at that point it wasn't quite sure where he wanted to go. Then it came out that he wanted to go to Barcelona, and since then there's been a few other links with other clubs. There's been a lot of reports saying, obviously Barcelona, Juventus. I just said, of course, that Juventus apparently no longer interested. There's been a few links flying around linking Bayern Munich and Man United to Verratti as well, but I don't really buy into either of those. I think those are just adding fuel to the fire. I think we are the only ones interested, truly interested in bringing Verratti to the club, and I do believe that Verratti does want to join Barcelona. And the reason for that is simply because at the start of the summer it was believed that he wanted to go to a more competitive league, which of course La Liga is. Not only Real Madrid battling for the title, but Atletico Madrid as well. We saw Sevilla have an excellent season last season. It's very much a competitive league these days. And he said most importantly, he wanted to join a competitive club vying for all of the major titles. And we have certainly proved in recent years, nonetheless, against PSG. We've knocked them out of the Champions League nearly every season gone by in the last few years. So it's certainly given the result this season, where we came back from that incredible 4-0 deficit that we suffered in Paris, 6-1 on the night, the greatest Champions League comeback of all time. What better way to cross over sides now and join us in our quest to recapture all the major titles next season? And I think that's what Verratti wants. I think he's at a stage in his career now, he's 24 years old. He's very much a regular for the Italian national team. He's got the World Cup coming up this summer, of course, in the summer of 2018. So he wants to be going into that in good form. He wants to be playing at the highest level. He wants to be playing consistently. There was reports that Verratti wanted assurances before he joined Barcelona on whether or not he's going to play every week. There was, an understanding about the sort of wages that he wanted to get. And of course, he wanted to be assured that they were going to be competitive next season. And I think all those things can certainly be realised. Another very interesting report said that actually Verratti's brother was actually house hunting in Barcelona earlier on this year. He said that he was looking at different options in the Catalan area and was seeing what could be had there for possibly a summer move for Verratti. So it seems like this has been something that's been going on now for a number of months. I think Verratti would have had that in his head towards the end of the season, where PSG lost out on the Liga 1 title to Monaco. They went out of the Champions League to us, of course. And I think that was probably the moment where he decided, this summer I'm going to make the next step. I want to move on my career. Of course, like I said at the start of the video, PSG still do hold all the cards. They are in control of the situation, but Barcelona have got to force their hand. We've got to make a €100 million offer. We've got to really test their resolve. Verratti will meet face to face with PSG later on this week. I would have thought in the next few days they're going to want to try and nip this in the bud quickly. We're going to get to the bottom of it very quickly. So once different things have been resolved, once PSG understand Verratti's stance, we may see things move quite quickly then. Negotiations will come in. We'll try and agree personal terms with Verratti. That's the important thing. And then, of course, it's going to PSG, and trying to deal with them over a transfer is never, ever easy. So certainly the likes of Roberto Fernandez, the sporting director of Barcelona, he's got to earn his money. He has got to earn his money here. Get this deal over the line. If Verratti wants to come, if he really does want to leave PSG this summer, we have to make him a Barcelona player. So leave your your thoughts down below, guys. What are your thoughts on the overall deal? How do you think it's going? Do you think that Verratti will leave PSG this summer? And do you now believe? Is it growing a little bit stronger? Are we going to get him? Leave your thoughts down below, guys. I will see you very, very soon. Thanks as always for watching. Vesca! El Barça!